Stranger Things. If you ask the average viewer to identify the show that perfectly represents Netflix, it would probably be this show. It isn't necessarily the first original program to come from this company, but it is indeed one of, if not the biggest influence in Netflix's modern formatting as a streaming service, inspiring a whole new wave of consumers to buy into this product that is Netflix, as they were just so intrigued by the mysteries that surrounded this town of Hawkins. Stranger Things will definitely be looked back as a modern classic, a relatively original story that was able to develop an enticing world through the eyes of characters that viewers were able to watch evolve over time, playing around with the fun of the unknown and the impossibility of the world being dependent on the backs of a bunch of small-time nobodies. No matter who you are, everyone has some sort of draw towards the show in some aspect. Ignoring its already great story structure, for an older audience, maybe it's the nostalgia of the accurately depicted world of the 1980s. And maybe for the younger audience, it's the connection they have with the talented but young cast as they develop as actors and as characters over the years. I don't think anyone could have truly predicted this show to be as massive of a hit as it eventually became. I don't even think anyone can truly represent just how popular the show was and still is, as it's been so deeply ingrained into our current pop culture. It is as such a disservice to call this series simply popular as it is to say that Michael Jackson was just a good performer. It dominates front covers of all social media platforms with every little teaser leak. Articles are written daily, even if the show has been on hiatus for years at times. And I'm pretty sure My Left Big Toe could be featured in a scene and gain 1 million Instagram followers by tomorrow. The show has received a massive amount of support and has been on top of the world since 2016. Rightfully so, of course. So when I say this, I am not discrediting this show at all, because even I don't 100% understand why, but it seems as if I can't watch Stranger Things anymore. Back in the summer of 2019, I finally caved under the Stranger Things pressure, as with season 3 being around the corner, it was literally plastered everywhere, which if you have even been connected to the internet at all around Stranger Things time knows that that's an easy understatement. I ended up binging those first 2 seasons and then doing the same for the eventual season 3 release. I fell in line just like millions of others as I fell in love with the show. I can remember spending hours upon hours watching video essays just like this very one, trying to connect clues to see how everything pieced together and how this would lead to the alluding season 4 playing out. Stranger Things holds a certain charm and captivates viewers in ways they haven't been familiar with before, along the way propelling the careers of every person involved in this programming, to the point that I would even argue that the main core group of Millie Bobby Brown, Finn Wolfhard, Caleb McLaughlin, Noah Schnapp, and Gaten Matarazzo, probably one of the most well-known collective casts in Hollywood at this moment, with pretty much all of them being some of the most sought-after names in Hollywood under the age of 22. And this recognition is well deserved, considering that they all put on one heck of a show. Honestly, I know everyone has their favorite characters and favorite arcs, but simply watching their progression as actors has been one of the more enjoyable aspects to me. So it's just so confusing to me why I can't really find myself investing into their most recent and likely best performed projects in season 4. I tried not only once, not only twice, not even 3 or even 5 times, but on 9 different occasions have I tried to hop back into watching this franchise, and on 9 different occasions did I find myself not even being able to get through a complete episode in one sitting. I would either fall asleep or get so bored to the point that I just changed to something else entirely. It's like I was a completely different person, as just 3 years prior, I was craving these episodes left and right. I couldn't put my phone or laptop down to do anything. Over the years, I have rewatched seasons after season, and even with season 4 being announced, I was still hyped as ever to see how these character stories reacted to these major changes. But I just couldn't get into it this time. Judging from the quotes it appears, it hasn't dipped in actual quality, so I know it wasn't a substance issue. And based on the online popularity with characters, concepts, and songs in particular being embraced with open arms, it seems as if this show is still hitting higher and higher peaks. So if the show isn't getting substantially worse, with some even saying it's getting better in certain aspects, I'm only left to believe that the major change isn't coming from the show itself, but it's coming from me. Alright, so I'm a firm believer in that judgment of any storytelling medium, specifically film in this case, is a mixture between the subjective enjoyment that can be pulled from the story and the objective caliber of that story. The subjective aspects take into account the general entertainment aspects of the film and how it's able to keep people engaged in the story itself, and the objective aspect centers more on the messages of the film and how well it's not only portrayed on the screen but conveyed to the audience. You also have certain standards for more technical things such as audio, cinematography, CGI if that's included, the acting. And then you have standards for the story, which includes the pacing, originality, possible foreshadowing, and just generally making a cohesive story that makes sense at the end of the day. Now, my issue seems to be with the subjective part, as I just can't get myself to invest back into this world, because I know the objective quality of the show hasn't drastically gotten worse for me to be just uninterested. These are both highly important characteristics in which we can use to develop our own judgment of a story, but way too often those lines get blurred and people end up not being able to properly describe their opinions in the end. Like in my note video, I did a lot of research on different reviews to understand why people had such extremely negative opinions on that movie, when it's objectively a well put together piece of content. And I realized that most people were letting their subjective feelings of confusion or boredom bleed over into their overall review, because the movie wasn't complete garbage no matter what way you look at it. Some just weren't able to find that enjoyment out of it. You can have an objectively bad story be subjectively the most entertaining thing in the world, and you can also have the most objectively good piece of media be very boring. It's the basis behind why people have certain pieces of content that are seen as guilty pleasures in the first place. It just so happens that in my case with Stranger Things, I kind of see it as the opposite. The point that really has me stumped in all of this is that I have no idea as to why I can't enjoy this show in the first place. I can't acknowledge that they have a lot of interesting themes going on and are setting up a very nice season 5 conclusion, but this visually playing out has just not been enticing to me. And typically, I am very in touch with why certain content makes me produce certain opinions, but I'm completely stumped when it comes to one of the possibly top 10 most well-known shows out right now. I know it can't be due to it being a hyped up show, as I was one of those very same people who fell into the hype and ended up loving every second of it. And I know it can't also be due to spoilers, as I was still able to find the enjoyment of another modern classic in The Boys, despite people frequently sharing a lot of plot elements out of pure excitement for the show. I guess the point of this video is just me getting my feelings out in regards to this show, because I am definitely in an awkward state with it right now. I am very open that I have fond memories of this show, and I don't doubt that season 4 of Stranger Things Volume 1 and 2 have some very appealing content to them, but it has simply become me willing myself to continue watching instead of running on pure pleasure. Maybe it has to do with me being overwhelmed with the pure length that his episodes are significantly longer than the average season, or maybe it's just a temporary loss of interest that I'll see renewed later on. Either reason it ends up being, I do intend on being caught up in time to give the final 5th season a try. Honestly, I'm genuinely curious to see if any of you guys are experiencing this or have ever experienced this in the past, but not even this show in particular, but just any piece of media, as I'm trying to get any sort of explanation I can, because good plot or bad plot, nothing can replace entertainment. If you guys made it this far, I would ask if you guys please like and subscribe to the channel. It only takes 2 seconds, but it would mean the world to me. Peace.